Hi everybody, welcome to Literature Lesson 2 Part 2. We're going to look through the answers for page 44 and 45 in the textbook. Question number 1. Which statement best describes the main idea of the first paragraph? Remember, one of the things that I told you is when you're looking for the main idea, you can look for words that are repeated. Well, we have moment. Everyone has a moment in history which belongs particularly to him. It is the moment when his emotions achieve their most powerful sway over him. And after, when you say to this person, the world today or life or reality, he'll assume that you mean this moment, even if it is 50 years in the past. The world, through his unleashed emotions, imprinted itself upon him, and he carries the stamp of that passing moment forever. So I think after we look at this first paragraph, we can see that the word moment is repeated several times. So we're looking at about a moment, a short time in history. Now, answer number 1 about emotional people, it says everyone, his emotions. If you say to him, he will think. So it's about one person having a special time, not all people doing something together. So we can take away answer number 1. And number 4, yesterday is more real than today is again too broad. We're talking about one time in history that is special. Not every day of the past is special. Now, we look at the answers that are left. People should not dwell on the past. People should be more interested in history. Not dwell on the past means not think about the past too much, but it's not saying this is bad to do it. It just says that people think about the past a lot. So I think number 2 can go as well. So now we're left with 2 answers. People should be more interested in history. Every person's life has a special moment. So a special moment is this idea here that moment in time, that moment in history. And every person is looking at every single individual person, which links to these pronouns he and him in the passage. So the best answer is number 5. Now, I need to look carefully at this. According to the author, the war was only 4 years ago, a dim memory, an immoral waste, proof that America is a land of plenty, or a time that shaped his reality. Now, look at the start of this second paragraph. For me, this moment, 4 years is a moment in history, was a war. He doesn't say the war was 4 years ago. He's saying the war lasted 4 years. So number 1 is a misreading of the passage. Now, think about paragraph 1, where it said that you will live in that moment forevermore. It says, whenever you say a moment, the person will think that you're talking about that time that is special for them. So that means that people can remember it very clearly. If they can remember it clearly, the memory is clear, not dim. Dim means very faded. Look at this excerpt that I wrote for you down here. It says to waste anything in America is immoral. To waste anything means like cotton or paper or metal. To waste anything is immoral. He doesn't say the war was immoral. He says to waste things is immoral. So we can take away answer 3. Now, if you come back to this first paragraph again, he says everybody's got a moment in history, a moment that is very powerful for them, a moment that they think about forevermore. For him, that moment was World War II, was the war. So the war was a moment that shaped him, a moment that changed how he sees the world. So the answer is number 5. Question number 3. The excerpt suggests that the war years affected the author as they did because he was young and impressionable, he admired Roosevelt's policies, money was easy to get, everyone was very sad, people left America to fight. Well, let's look at the passage carefully, starting up here. It said, these are some of the characteristics. Franklin Delano Roosevelt is the President of the United States, and he always has been. 2 other leaders are Winston Churchill and Joseph Stalin. Now, he says Roosevelt is the leader. He doesn't say he likes Roosevelt. He doesn't say Roosevelt is a good leader. He just says that Roosevelt is the leader. So we can take away answer number 2 because the passage does not say that he admires Roosevelt. Let's continue in the second section. There are too many jobs and not enough workers. Money is very easy to earn but rather hard to spend. Now, number 3 says money was easy to get, which is true. It just says money was easy to get. But this is a very long paragraph that starts in line 12 and finishes in line 71. This is just one sentence in the middle of a very long paragraph. It's not saying the most important point. It's just a description of what life is like. So number 3 is not going to be the right answer. Now, was everyone very sad? Well, down here in line 34, it said people in America cry often. It doesn't say everyone cries often, it just says people generally cry often. So we cannot say everyone was very sad. Number 4 is not given. Do we know why they were crying often? Well, we can go back. People are always leaving. And then the next talk about you are 16 and people realize that you are going to go and fight for them soon. If you read down in line 43 and 44. So people are leaving America to go and fight. But again, this is part of the long paragraph describing what life is like. Describing the president, the jobs, the money, people leaving, the newspapers, the broadcasts. Describing what life is like. This is just one of many parts of the description. The best answer is number 1. He was young and impressionable. It says here, you are a 16-year-old. When you are 16-year-olds, adults are slightly impressed by you. So he's 16-year-old, he's still a child, and he is young. So he remembers everything very clearly because it made such a big impression on him, such a big change in his life. Now, question 4 is very difficult to do because it says, what is the main idea of the second paragraph? But the second paragraph starts here and finishes here. The second paragraph is almost 60 lines long. So it's really looking at how is the main idea related to the idea of the first paragraph. So we need to remember what the main idea of the first paragraph is. The first paragraph says that life has a moment in time that affects it forever. Something in the past is what people will remember forevermore. Now, what is paragraph 2 doing? Well, paragraph 2, if we look, is talking about World War II. It's talking about the leader. It's talking about the shortages. It's talking about the jobs. It's talking about people always traveling away. It's talking about being 16 when it happened. Talk about people going to fight in the future, about reading the newspapers, about listening to the radio. These are all examples of things that were happening during World War II. And for the author, World War II is the main time in his life, the main moment in his life that shaped everything else. So here where it says, everyone has a moment in history which belongs to him, and it's the most powerful moment over them forevermore. And whenever you talk about life or today, people will assume that you mean this moment. Well, for him, his moment was the war, World War II. And then the rest of the second paragraph is describing World War II. So all of it is an example of the idea that somebody has a special moment in their life. So the answer is number 5. Now, for question number 5, the author helps the reader understand how he feels about the war by doing what? Now, the key here is how he feels about the war. Some of these answers are not going to help you to understand how he feels. So number 3, for example, talking about the world leaders, Roosevelt, Churchill, Stalin. That just tells you what time the war is. It doesn't tell you how he feels about the leaders. So we can take away answer number 3. Now, it tells you what's happening about shortages, about money being very easy to get, about lots of crowded servicemen everywhere around, about people crying about his age, but he doesn't openly say, I was worried or I was excited. He doesn't state his emotions clearly. Now, answer number 1 talks about on people generally, but this passage is about him. This passage is about his memory of World War II, not generally about all people. So take away answer number 1. And now we're left with 2 answers. Does he talk about the war as if it is happening now? Or does he make it sound romantic and appealing? Well, let's look. Stalin is not. Okay. Still rare. There are too many jobs. Money is easy to earn, hard to spend. There isn't very much to buy. Trains are always late. If you look at the verbs that he uses, these are all present tense verbs. Even though he's talking about World War II and his memory of World War II, which happened in the past, he's talking about it using present tense verbs. So the answer is number 2. He's talking about it as if it is happening now because he remembers it so clearly. His memory is the same as seeing it in front of his eyes right now. That's the idea behind this question. Question number 6. Which of the following details is not used to support the second paragraph? Roosevelt is President of the United States. Well, if we look down at lines 16, 17, Roosevelt is the President of the United States. So this is part of that second paragraph idea. There isn't much to buy. Well, it says money is easy to earn, but rather hard to spend because there isn't very much to buy. So again, that's included. Olive is the only patriotic color. Patriotic means if you love your country. Olive means like a dark green color. Think about an army uniform. That dark green color that is common on army uniform is called olive color. And now looking at around line 68, the prevailing color of life in America is a dull, dark green called olive drab. Most other colors risk being unpatriotic. So answers 1, 2, and 3 are all there. Number 4, news broadcasts are very important. It says everyone listens to the news broadcasts 5 or 6 times every day. Everybody is listening to the news 5 or 6 times every day. That must suggest that this is very important. Now, number 5 says a 16-year-old is exempt from wartime worries. Exempt means does not apply to them. So does a 16-year-old worry or not? Well, it says people in America cry often. 16 is the key and crucial natural age. People are ahead or behind. When you are 16, adults are impressed. But it doesn't say if he worries or he doesn't worry. So answer 1, 2, 3, 4 are all included clearly in the passage. Answer number 5, the idea of not worrying is not there. It does say that he is 16, but it does not say he does not worry. Okay, number 7. Which of the following statements would the author most likely to agree with? Politics makes strange bedfellows. Well, it's not really about politics, it's about memories of the past. So we can take away answer number 1 straight away. There is no time like the present. Well, the first paragraph said everyone has a moment in history which belongs to them. A moment in history. A moment when emotions were powerful. And even if it is 50 years ago, you think that people are talking about that moment. So it's not talking about the present, it's talking about history. So take away answer number 2. And similarly, number 4, similarly, number 5, time stands still for no one. Stand still means, well, the opposite of this. Here, people are always thinking about the past, something that happened in the past that was very powerful. But number 5 says time cannot stay still. So we take away number 5 because people are stuck in their past memory. So now we have 2 answers to choose from. Time is something we will never understand, or every person sees the world from a personal point of view. And the answer is number 4. And the key part of the first paragraph which shows you that is, so every person has a moment that belongs to him. And then when you say to this person, they assume that they mean this moment. So this one time in their life that was very special for them. And then the second paragraph gives you an example. For the author, the Second World War was the time that was very special for him. So he always views everything else that happens through the idea of the Second World War. So that's mean every person has something that is personal for them, a personal point of view for them. So question 8. This excerpt is primarily, so what is this? What is this passage? Is it a biography, a description of the United States during World War II, a complaint about wartime living conditions, humorous commentary, or a picture of a 16-year-old's world? Now, biography means a person's life story from when they are born to when they die. This is not about a whole person's life story. It's just about their main memory from during the war. So we can take away answer number 1. And it's not a complaint about wartime living conditions. If we look at the passage, we can see many things that were good things. You can talk about not wasting anything. That's a good thing. Talking about listening to the news all the time and having a lot of money. Money is very easy to earn. So there's lots of things that were positive. There's also things that were negative. It's not just a complaint. And is it humorous? Well, I don't think he is using humor. He's not trying to tell jokes. So we take away answer number 4. And now we have to think very carefully about answer 2 and 5. A picture of a 16-year-old's world, or a description of the United States during World War II. And it is quite difficult to choose between answer number 2 and answer number 5 because the guy was 16 years old when he was in the war, and it is about United States during World War II. But for me, I think because starting from here down to here, it's a description of the war, and the war lasted 4 years. So the guy wasn't 16 the whole time that the war was on. He would have been 16 during the war, but not for the whole time. So it's not just what a 16-year-old looks like, what a 16-year-old's life looks like. More specific than that, it's about the war the United States went through. So answer 2 is the best. So question 9, why does the author think that to waste anything in America is immoral? Because America is not a land of plenty, because the war has made almost everything in short supply, because everything needs to be saved for the servicemen, because of the olive drab mood of the country, or because everything costs so much. So let's look at line 45-46. To waste anything in America is immoral. String and tin foil are treasures. So string that you might get a box tied up with, people would save it. Tin foil that might be wrapped around food, people would save it. Why are they saving things? Why are they saying it's so wrong to waste anything? Well, I think the key is back here in lines 20 to 25. It said, nylon, meat, gasoline, and steel are rare. So many things in America that would normally be there all the time are now quite rare. Money is easy to earn but hard to spend because there isn't very much to buy. So these materials are very rare, and it's difficult to buy things because there's not much left in the shops. So we're talking about rarity, scarcity. We're talking about short supply. So the answer is number 2. Now, it's not because America is not a land of plenty, even though it does say that it is not a land of plenty. That's not the idea of right and wrong. The idea of right and wrong is that in the war, it's difficult to find things, and so everybody should be careful to help. If you chose answer number 3, everything needs to be saved for the servicemen, well, that doesn't apply to the string and the tin foil. That's not going to be for the army, but it's still very treasurable. It's still very valuable. So not everything is going to go to the servicemen. And the mood of the nation, the sad mood of the nation, well, that's not about why it's good or bad to save. Everything costs so much. Well, it doesn't say it costs so much. It says money is easy to earn but hard to spend. Why is it hard to spend? Not because the prices are high, but because there's simply not enough of everything around for people to buy.